The rain fell like needles, thin, cold, and merciless, as 14-year-old Naya picked through the dumpsters behind Halloway Tower. Her skeletal fingers, raw and trembling from hunger, worked feverishly through the filth. The city around her was a shattered promise, its glittering skyline laughing down at those abandoned by progress. Naya was one of them, barefoot, black, and invisible to the world that built towers of glass, while children like her searched for stale bread and half-eaten sandwiches. She dragged a cracked plastic bag behind her like a lifeline, praying for scraps tossed away by men who made more in an hour than she might see in her lifetime. Halloway Tower loomed above her like a monolith of indifference, its steel and mirrored glass rising high into the gray sky like a sneer. The top floors were sealed off from the rest of the world, fortresses of luxury protected by biometric locks, robotic guards, and windows so dark you couldn't even catch a glimpse of the ghosts of the wealthy who lived inside. And somewhere at the top of that tower lived William Aldrich III, the paralyzed tech mogul who hadn't walked in 17 years, yet still ruled the city's biotech empire with a voice colder than the machines he built. Once hailed as a genius, he had invented neural implants that could whisper directly to the brain. But after a racing yacht accident crushed his spine, the legend gave way to something far darker. He withdrew from the world, turned bitter, silent, and some said cruel. Everyone on the street had heard the stories. Rumors whispered in alleyways and under crumbling bridges that William had created something powerful enough to restore the broken spine he now hated. But he wouldn't use it, wouldn't share it, wouldn't even acknowledge it existed. When a journalist pressed him once, he had only laughed, his voice crackling through the screen like a threat. "If I have a cure," he said, "then let me rot with it. I owe the world nothing." Naya had ignored those rumors for years. They were fairy tales, distractions from the pain of hunger and cold. But that changed the day her little brother Jameer's legs stopped working. Jameer, once a whirlwind of laughter and boundless energy, now whimpered quietly at night beneath the torn tarps of their alley shelter behind St. Agnes Church. The boy who used to dance on cracked sidewalks and race pigeons through back streets now lay curled against damp cardboard, his legs limp and useless beneath the threadbare blanket. The free clinic had a name for it, degenerative nerve collapse, but no answers, no treatments, no future. They offered only syringes of morphine, whispered prayers, and hollow reassurances that someone, someday, might care. One bitter evening, after hours of watching Jameer struggle to crawl across broken concrete just to relieve himself in a rusted can, something in Naya broke. Or maybe something stronger woke up. She wiped the dirt from her face, tucked a crumpled photo of Jameer into her coat, and with a dented tin of canned corn clutched in one hand like an offering, she did the unthinkable. She marched into the marble lobby of Halloway Tower, soaked in city filth, hair matted, socks soaked through her torn soles, and stinking of mildew and rain. The marble floor glistened beneath the fluorescence. The concierge went rigid behind the gleaming front desk. Two armed guards stiffened, hands inching toward their belts, confusion tightening their expressions. She didn't belong there, and they all knew it. But someone was watching. 86 floors above, behind tinted glass and layers of steel, William Aldrich III sat in a rotating medical chair that resembled a throne. Screens surrounded him, security feeds, market indices, biometric scans. His spine may have been broken, but his eyes missed nothing. And in that moment, they locked onto Naya. He saw the defiance in her posture, the storm in her face, and something even more unsettling, desperation that hadn't yet turned numb. He pressed a button on the console beside him, leaned closer to the microphone, and with the calm of a man who rarely needed to raise his voice, spoke one word into the intercom. "Send her up." The elevator groaned as it ascended, its ancient mechanics echoing like a countdown to judgment. Each passing floor seemed to pull the heat from Naya's bones, replacing it with cold dread. By the time the doors finally hissed open, she stepped into a space so sterile it barely felt human. The room stretched out before her like a surgical theater, glass walls gleaming, chrome panels humming, and strange machines in the corners exhaling with soft, rhythmic breaths like artificial lungs. William Aldrich III sat motionless, facing the endless city through a wall of seamless glass. His posture was rigid, his back held straight by quiet mechanical servos. His legs, covered in a blanket of gray cashmere, lay useless beneath him. He didn't turn to greet her. He didn't have to. "You stink," he said flatly, voice low and cold, as if commenting on the weather. Naya clenched her jaw but stood firm. "I didn't come to impress you." A short, cracked laugh broke from him, more bone than breath, more insult than amusement. She stepped forward, her shoulders squared despite the trembling in her limbs, and held out the battered tin of canned corn like a sacred relic. "Trade your leftovers," she said, voice unwavering, "for a cure." He turned then. The motion of his chair was fluid, silent, too smooth to be natural. When his face came into view, it startled her, not because it was grotesque, but because it was so hollow. Gaunt cheeks, tight lips, eyes sharp as shattered glass. There was no softness in them, only calculation. "Excuse me," he said, as though daring her to repeat herself. Naya didn't flinch. She pointed past him, to the silver tray on the counter, where untouched filet mignon cooled beside a neat stack of truffle-smeared potatoes. "You toss out meals that could feed a family. You hoard secrets that could save lives. My brother is starving. My brother is dying. If you won't give me the cure," she said, stepping closer, "then at least trade me your scraps." Silence dropped over the room like a guillotine. William didn't blink, didn't breathe. The mechanical hiss of the machines was the only sound between them. Then, slowly, he leaned back in his chair, lips twitching into something between a sneer and a smile. "You think your brother deserves a miracle," he said, voice like ice cracking under weight, "because you're poor." Naya's voice came quiet, but fierce, her eyes burning with something ancient and unsilenced. "No," she said, "I think he deserves it because he's kind, and because maybe once you were too." The smirk vanished from William's face like mist and heat, and for the first time in 17 years, he said nothing at all. He let her stay. No guards dragged her out. No alarms blared. Instead, William motioned to one of his silent machines, and moments later, a tray arrived, real food, still warm. Roast chicken, rice, a slice of bread that didn't crumble at the edges. Naya ate with her fingers, ravenous and wary, her eyes never leaving his. He didn't speak much at first, just watched her, as if studying the anatomy of desperation. But then the questions came, strange ones, measured, piercing. "Do you dream?" he asked, his voice calm and distant. Naya blinked, unsure. "Sometimes." "Do you hate?" She hesitated. "Only what deserves it." He leaned closer. "Would you kill?" he asked, almost gently. "To save your brother?" The question sat heavy in the air. She didn't answer. Outside, the storm had risen to a howl. The wind beat against the glass walls like fists. It sounded like the city itself was mourning. Then, without another word, William wheeled himself toward a smooth panel embedded in the far wall. He pressed his thumb to a scanner and typed a passcode only he knew. The panel hissed open. Behind it sat a case, sleek, matte black, and sealed with reinforced latches. William lifted it with careful precision and placed it on the table between them. When he opened it, Naya's breath caught. Inside, cushioned in velvet, lay a small vial of translucent blue serum, barely an ounce, and beside it, a single-use injector, gleaming under the overhead lights like a weapon made of mercy. Her heart stuttered. "So it's real," she whispered, voice shaking. "I never said it wasn't," he replied, eyes on the vial. She reached out, instinctively, fingers trembling with hope. But just as her hand neared the injector, he pulled the case back. "You may use it," he said slowly, like a judge pronouncing sentence. "But first a test." He handed her a tablet, thin, sleek, cold to the touch. The screen flickered to life, and there, in grainy black and white, was Jameer, curled like a question mark on the thin mattress behind St. Agnes, his small chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. The camera, positioned high on a drone, hovered quietly above the alley like a silent god. "If you want the cure," William said, his voice almost clinical, "you must prove it's worth more than mercy." He tapped the screen again. A second feed opened. Another boy, about Jameer's age, maybe younger, shivered beneath a bridge several blocks away. His skin looked pale, lips cracked, eyes half closed from exhaustion or illness. A stranger, another forgotten soul. "I'll send a drone to inject one," William said, setting the tablet on the table between them. "You choose who." Naya's breath hitched. Her body went rigid. "No," she whispered. "No, I won't." William tilted his head. "Then the serum stays here. With me. Forever." Her hands shook. Her throat closed. "You're a monster." "And yet," William said, his voice soft as silk now, "you came to me." Then the screen changed. A digital countdown began. 30 seconds. 29. 28. Naya's heartbeat pounded in her ears. Her fingers gripped the edge of the table like she might fall through the floor. 2 boys. 1 cure. 1 drone. Her brother's face flickered beside a stranger's. Both still. Both waiting. 20. Her voice cracked. "Please don't do this." William said nothing. 15. Her legs nearly gave out. 10. "No, wait, stop." 5. 4. 3. She screamed. "Stop." The screen froze. The countdown vanished. For a moment, the only sound in the room was Naya's sobs, raw and unfiltered, pouring from the place where helplessness lives. William stared at her, the corner of his mouth curling into a mockery of sympathy. Then, slowly, deliberately, he lifted the vial. "You failed," he said, and with a flick of his wrist, he let it go. It dropped, shattered. Blue serum bled across the floor like spilled heaven. Naya lunged forward with a scream, crashing to her knees as the vial shattered at her feet. Her hand scraped across glass shards, blood welling beneath her fingernails as she tried, desperately, uselessly, to scoop up the fragments, the serum, anything. "No," she cried, voice breaking with anguish. "You can't. You don't get to." William turned his back, unmoved. "There are no miracles for the poor," he said coolly, his voice echoing like a death sentence. "Just illusions." But then, a sound. Click. Then another. Click. He paused. Looked down. His medical chair had stopped moving. The wheels, once so fluid, now frozen. The control panel on his arm locked. Its screen blinked red. And then, something impossible. The tablet screen lit up once more. Jameer, on the live feed, stirred. His body twitched. His eyes blinked open. He pushed himself upright, dazed, confused. Then, slowly, shakily, he stood. William's breath caught in his throat. "What did you do?" he hissed. Naya rose to her feet, bloodied palms clenched at her sides, her voice as sharp as broken bone. "Your system's wireless. Your drones. Your serum delivery. I watched you. I learned. I listened. And I found someone who believed people like us deserved a future." A figure emerged from the shadows behind her, calm, tall, commanding. A dark-skinned woman in a white lab coat, eyes burning with long-buried rage. Dr. Amina Lowell, former lead researcher at Aldridge Biotech. Once celebrated, then silenced. Discredited. Erased. "The cure was stolen a long time ago," she said, voice like thunder. "You didn't lose it. You hoarded it. But now it's free." Outside, the shriek of sirens pierced the night. Lights flashed through the windows. Security systems blared warnings across William's control screens. His fortress was collapsing from the inside. William roared in fury, slamming his fists into the dead control panel. "You thieves! You traitors! You fools! The world will crush you." Naya stepped closer until her shadow fell across him, eyes blazing. "No," she said, steady as stone. "It'll forget you." Weeks later, something miraculous bloomed across the slums. Children who had once dragged their limbs through the dirt began to rise, to walk, to run. The blue serum, once locked behind glass and cruelty, was now coursing through the veins of the forgotten. Clinics in alleys, in school basements, in repurposed buses. The cure had been released, mass distributed. No more secrecy, no more price tag. William Aldridge III was placed under federal surveillance, his accounts frozen, his assets seized. Halloway Tower, once a monument to untouchable wealth, was gutted, its walls emptied, its secrets exposed. But in truth, something had broken in William long before the handcuffs ever clicked. He no longer spoke. He just sat in that sealed room, alone with the ghosts of what he refused to share, staring endlessly at the corner where the vial had shattered, where hope had slipped through his fingers. Sometimes, when the staff passed outside his door, they heard him whispering to no one, fragments of sentences, pieces of regret, names he could no longer say aloud. And Naya, she didn't ask for glory, didn't take interviews, never sought reward. She refused medals and money with quiet dignity. She asked for just one thing, a new label, printed on every vial of the serum. Hope isn't for sale. And beneath it, two small initials, J.N. Jameer and Naya. Because sometimes, the only cure for cruelty is courage. And sometimes, the scraps the powerful throw away can feed a revolution.